right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the recap. Michael D'Angelo, joined as always by my partner in crime, the Commandante. I'm going to call you today, Mr. Daryl Ortiz. Royal Rumble 2026 came to us from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia yesterday. Big D,
and it looked empty as hell.
Well, and so that's a good first point. I was trying to figure out because they kept saying this is sold out, sold out. And I couldn't tell if it was empty or there was something weird with the lighting. Because it's like when they would have they had the lights behind every single seat, and they were like flickering on and off. And sometimes it looked like a ghost where there was a person sitting there and the light would flicker on and the seat would look empty. And I'm like, do they have something odd with the lighting happening here where it's making a bunch of seats look empty? Because as they would pan across, then there would be people sitting in the seats and they would pan back and the seats would look empty. So I was having a hard time. So, at first it looked really empty.
I had a theory, and it kind of came to fruition as the night went on. I feel like two things. I feel like the folks in Saudi treated it like a UFC pay-per-view. Whereas in UFC, you don't really show up until closer to the main event. And I hate to say it, but I know one of the biggest gripes that the female wrestlers had going to Saudi is the lack of respect they have for female talent. And it's not respect, it's just like a cultural thing. And I totally get that. That's why they got addressed differently. And that was the first match of the night. So my guess was they probably just didn't want to watch that match. And so they didn't show up till later on. Yeah. Because if you noticed, as the night went on, once you got to the men's rumble, there was more people in the seats. Because, they had the lights making, like, give the WWE logo. They did, it looked okay. But I think when I looked, the attendance was like 30,000 or something like that, which is not a lot for a rumble.
Well, it's 30,000. I think they're saying that it was at capacity, though, because I think they only had like 30,000. They kept saying it sold out, it's at capacity.
It did not look sold out.
Which it didn't look sold out. Now, I had the same thought because they opened with the Women's Royal Rumble match, and I was like, are people just not in their seats yet? Have people just not arrived and they hadn't prioritized this one, which is kind of a bummer because it's only 4 matches. And the Rumble matches are obviously the biggest deal. It's the Royal Rumble. So that optic of them out there, and you could definitely see there was a lot of empty seats when they first kicked off. That was a little disappointing, but this is also the gripe that I had heading into this. Kind of knowing culturally how this is more of a challenge in terms of acceptance for all of the female wrestlers, why would you host the Rumble there? Like, there's a huge showcase. There's going to be a big 30-woman event where they're going to have to wear their unorthodox ring gear to kind of, from appeasement of a cultural standpoint. Like, maybe do a different one. Maybe do Survivor Series. If you want to do one of the big 4, do Survivor Series or do SummerSlam if you want to do something like that.
It's definitely money.
Like a tough thing.
Yeah,
for
it's money because they did the Rumble, and then this year we'll have WrestleMania in Vegas, but after that it's going to be in Saudi as well. And so, so that's it's a money thing.
It's totally a money grab, but I'm like, have a little bit of respect for all the competitors that you're flying out there. But Women's Royal Rumble,
real quick, to their credit, I will say the women have done a phenomenal job in fixing their ring attire the way they want to still. Like, it still has their personality touch on it, which I love, and I love to see that. And I'm glad they do that because, yes, I remember the very first women's match that they had, and it looked kind of weird because it looked like they were wearing, like, essentially like
were black bodysuits.
Yeah, they were like bodysuits, And now a lot of them have like their own decor. Like, Sol Ruca kind of was gambling because she wore borderline.
Yeah, she was really.
Yeah, her midriff kit showing, and I'm like, ooh, they're gonna be mad. But I'm like, hey, you know what? Whatever.
I'm like, I don't mind it. I just make sure. I hope she's gets out of the country okay. Everybody else, well, and to that point, it is a lot of the custom gear, and they had a lot of their custom logos, and like Alexa Bliss had the little face on her chest as well. So they did different things that they kind of incorporate as far as their logos and their gear already.
Yeah,
so that's definitely nicer to see. But still, they've got to go through this rigmarole of creating this new gear specifically for this event. And I'm going to go out and say, I thought that the Women's Rumble was better than the Men's Rumble this year.
Yeah, definitely.
For me, this was probably it kicked off the show, but it was probably the best part of the 4 matches from my perspective.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Women's Rumble a lot more than I did the men's, and we'll talk about that one later. But I feel like this one was, the women really went out there and like tore it up. Like, I loved every bit of it. We did have some nice returns. We definitely had Natty debuting her new gimmick, which was cool to see. Zelina actually came out and did okay. We hadn't seen her in a little while, but I mean, of course, and the biggest thing was we had Brie come out,
Yeah, and
which
that was the
I was
only real
expecting to see Paige.
surprise. That was the
I
only
was expecting to see Paige,
Yeah.
but
Well, and this is, I will say, this Royal Rumble, both men's and women's, was kind of devoid of any surprise except for Brie. Brie was the lone exception. Of I was genuinely surprised when Brie came out, because I was like, oh, wow, I didn't think
yeah,
she would be here. That was cool. Everyone else, they had more NXT representation on
they
the
did
women's
a lot.
match. They had
Yeah.
no, I'm going to say no NXT representation on the men's match, because every NXT person has essentially been called up. So that's including Obafemi. I know he hasn't declared for either one, but he's not. He already relinquished the title, so he's not part of
I think they've
NXT
been teasing
anymore.
him on SmackDown.
Yeah,
They've been doing promos.
they've been doing
so I
promos,
think
but they
it's.
said, like, they even pointed out he hasn't officially signed with Raw or SmackDown yet.
Mm,
But for me, it's they had no NXTers in the men's match, which was strange. So you
mhm.
had the recently called up and the usual call ups, but only one surprise with Brie Bella. Liv Morgan, of course, everybody knows, was the winner. She was the runner up last year, I believe. You had Tiffany Stratton returning at number 30, but that wasn't a surprise because she had already announced that she was going to be there.
Yeah,
So just not a lot of surprises. I will say, I think Liv Morgan's the right choice. She's a
I
strong
agree.
competitor. She's a good heel. You had the whole Judgment Day represented, so it made sense for Liv Morgan to eventually end up advancing because they're working together as a team to a degree. But so I liked it. Like, I liked this one. I thought it was enjoyable. You kind of had that quick bang bang ending with Liv kind of hitting the oblivion on the ring apron and then winning. I liked it. I thought it was a good choice.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's also legit for me. It's helpful because she's coming off. She had a lot of injuries and a lot of things going on last year, and prior to that, it was like the revenge tour of Liv Morgan, where she was doing really, really well, and then the injuries kind of halted her momentum. So this makes sense to kind of, let's get her right back into the mix again. So I like.
I agree, and I really enjoyed it. I think this was the right choice. I liked that we had talked about there's going to be a split in the Judgment Day. It's written on the walls. Finn Balor's looking like he's about to step out, and we're wondering when Liv Morgan was going to start that split. And we thought it was going to be with Roxanne Perez, because we were like, oh, well, she was the one that was trying to go after Dom. Like, that was the kind of angle they started with Roxanne, but they ended up getting along really well, making a tag team together, all that good stuff. But it looks like the split's going to be with Raquel, because she eliminated Raquel behind her back to take advantage of it. And so I think that's actually going to be a good route, because she's probably going to be like, you're supposed to be my friend. How could you even team up with her and like just replace me? Like, there's so much you could do with it.
Yeah.
And I really like that. So
Well, and I
I
feel
think
like
this was a great choice.
I feel like the justification is going to be because Raquel's got the title fight against Stephanie on Monday, right? On Monday
Yep,
night. So I'm
she
sure they're going to be
does.
like, hey, you didn't need to win. You're going to win your world title. And, Liv can cash in on Jade. Like, they're going to talk about,
Oh yeah, we
like,
can have both women's
we can have
titles in the
both
Judgment
women's
Day.
House
Yeah,
of Judgment. Like, this is going to be the justification for this.
yeah,
But totally, like, they're going to continue to build and build and build to the eventual split. Well, we'll finally get there at some point for the Judgment. It's been
yeah.
teased so many
Eventually,
different
this
ways.
has been like years long in the making, so
Yeah,
we'll see.
but we'll get there. But
Yeah.
that was good stuff. And then after this, it was followed by Gunther versus AJ Styles retirement match on the line, which you and I both expected that AJ was going to lose this,
Mm-hmm.
and he did, predictably so. Match was fine. So I'll say this: like, I thought it started out very much like the John Cena, at least from my perspective, John Cena versus Gunther, where it was more methodical. And then AJ got going more towards the end. He had that nice 450 off of the ropes. Like, he did the AJ Styles stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I did appreciate, of course, you're going to have Gunther do the whole submission thing because he makes everybody submit now. I appreciate the fact that AJ didn't tap, that he passed
Yeah.
out. So, which was much better, which is what I hoped that they would have done in the John Cena match. And then it is almost like I expected it. It was kind of sad to see. I felt like the crowd was genuinely surprised that AJ lost, that they were expecting him to not lose at this point. But you and I have talked about it. Like, it felt like this was kind of obvious. It was literally the 10-year anniversary of him debuting at the Royal Rumble. And I was like, fitting at the 10-year anniversary in 2026, he was going to retire at the Rumble. But then he had that moment where he's going to take the gloves off, and then he changed his mind and put him back on and did the little hand gesture and then left. And I almost looked at that as the signal of, okay, I'm not officially retiring. And as you had made the prediction on, he goes to TNA and finishes his career there. I feel like that makes it, like, if they weren't going to go at that angle, he would have just left the gloves there. And so that's kind of the nod to, I'm not done, and then they'll clarify that, hey, his career in WWE is over, and then he'll have whatever matches he wants to have to close it out. But what did you think of this one?
So yeah, I agree. I was, as much as I already knew it was gonna happen, it still was sad to see AJ have his last match in WWE. And I say WWE because yeah, that was my prediction. His contract's up in February, so we're in February now, so his contract is up. And so it makes sense that he's going to end his career at TNA because that's where he got his start. He was Mr. TNA for the longest time. He carried that brand on his back, and he kind of had moments where he appeared in TNA. So I think what's going to happen now is we're going to think, oh, he's retired, and then he's going to make a surprise return to TNA and then finish out his career there. So I'll be looking forward to that. And the plus side to it is that WWE works really well with TNA, so this may not be the last time we see AJ because he'll be a TNA talent, and we've seen TNA talent come over to SmackDown and Raw to wrestle as well. So who knows what'll happen? I'm curious to see how they're going to play this out. Like you said, the gloves mean that he's finished in WWE, but he's not done.
He's not done.
And I'm glad for that because I love AJ Styles. He's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a heck of a career, obviously, and feels like, I don't think that this is going to be the end. It does feel like they are going to make that transition to TNA, and we'll get to see a little bit more from him. But it's still a heavy moment. You talk about it. It's like, there was a sadness there. I got a little sentimental when I was watching it because I was like, yeah, this is probably the last time you see him in a WWE ring. He's had just such a prolific career. But we'll see how they kind of handle the go forward with him. I hope that they are going to see that out and he'll get a few matches in TNA. The other thing I really like about this too is that it's not this long drawn out retirement thing like John Cena did where he took time away from everyone. They've done so many call ups from NXT that it makes sense for him not to be on WWE programming, just taking spots up and taking up time. So I like him transitioning over to TNA, giving them a little bit more shine, working with the folks over there, and kind of allowing the next generation of stars more of that on air time for WWE. So
I agree.
I like it for those reasons, but still sad to see AJ Styles probably most likely having his last match in WWE at this point.
Yeah.
And then by the books, Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. Yeah, Drew won. I'll say one clean win. I mean, it was pretty straightforward. The only thing I didn't like about this, they constantly have to go to the well with this for WWE, is instead of just letting him win straight out and win clean, they did this whole thing where Sami Zayn's kind of like he's got a back injury, he's kind of favoring it, he's not 100%. It's like, just let him beat up Sami Zayn without there being like an excuse of something that was hindering Sami, and maybe Sami would have had a better opportunity had this not happened. But that was a big storyline for this, with Sami Zayn's back injury and Drew targeting it the whole time. But Drew hit a couple of claymores and did win clean as far as I'm concerned. It's fine. It was okay. And this, I think, kind of falls into the habit of whenever you have like the Royal Rumble and then you have the WWE Championship. So I want to say it was like Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles last year actually, or maybe that they'll go through those. It was maybe not last year, the year before, but it's almost like, it's like a placeholder thing. Nothing's going to happen. The title's not going to change hands. It is what it is. Yeah. So it was fine, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah, I mean, this was pretty much by the books. Drew was going to pick up the win. Sami was a heavy favorite there. It's like a second home to him there in Saudi. Everyone loves him. And yeah, it's really just more to give that emotion. They like to give Sami Zayn these emotional arcs where it's like he's the underdog and he keeps pushing, he keeps persevering. And that was the whole story behind the match as well, right? Through the match. But I think that from now, they're just going to have Sami, either one or two things is going to happen. He's either going to like come out in frustration and try to have one more go at it like he normally does. Another option that he does as well, another thing that he does as well is just, start building himself back up again slowly and come back up and then eventually get back in the main event scenario. But yeah, I hate that they use Sami for that, but I think because he does it so well, they just let him do it. And yeah, we'll see, because we still got to figure out, who's going to go after which title, which we'll talk about next. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean, I guess we'll see the payoff of this either by WrestleMania or SummerSlam for Sami Zayn. So
yeah, we'll see. And it's interesting. So yeah, let's just get into the men's Rumble. I want to start with you, Big D, kind of how this played out, because you had Obafemi number one, and no surprise, he had already declared. Braun Breaker number 2 on the way down to the ring. And
which I
then
think was Damage Control, because I think that was Damage Control because I was watching SmackDown this last SmackDown before the Rumble, and Axiom was coming out. It was this Fraxium entrance, and the graphics card at the bottom, you know how it just flashes over and it'll say SmackDown will be in blue and it'll say Axiom. It said Royal Rumble. It said Braun Breaker entrant number 1.
yeah, I didn't.
And then it was like that for like a second, and then it flipped to Axiom, and I'm like, well, someone got in trouble. And then all of a sudden, Paul Heyman saying, "Oh, you picked him number 2." So I think that was kind of like, damn it. I think Braun Breaker was supposed to come out at number 1, which I was thinking would have been pretty cool. After the fact, I was like, oh, that would actually. After I saw it, I was like, you know what, that might actually be pretty cool because he could tear through everyone and win the Rumble, because that was my prediction. And you said, you know what, bro, F you, and or he's gonna go in at number 2. And then he's going to get jumped by what appears to be Seth
the
Rollins.
masked man. Yeah, that appears to be Seth Rollins, who gave him he threw him into the steps and then gave him a curb stomp, tossed him in the ring. Obafemi eliminated him. That's it. I hated every second of this. Absolutely despised it, because all they did was spend this whole time building up Braun Breaker, and he had the great match with CM Punk. And we're like, okay, he came up short, but now he needs to win the Rumble to get back into it. And then all this stuff with him in the storyline and Adam Pearce, Division all getting in, they make the plan. And then it's like, you've been building to this whole, it's going to be the Vision and the Rumble all working together to make sure that Braun Breaker makes it. And none of that got paid off. It was just like, he's out before it even gets started. And now we'll see who wins. And the guy who should be the monster running over everybody and who should have this opportunity is gone. And you assume it's Seth Rollins. I'm desperately hoping for one last swerve in this. And it was Austin Theory.
Well, that's my thinking too. Like, it's either Seth or Austin Theory.
Yeah.
But I think it's Seth because it was obvious he was wearing an oversized sweatshirt. He looked
the body type looked more like Seth Rollins. When I saw it, I was like,
even the super kick looked like, because correct me if I'm wrong, but Austin Theory does not use the super kick.
Yeah, I don't believe he does. And just like his stature, though, when I saw the stature and the physique, I'm like, that's Seth Rollins. That's not Theory.
He's wearing a big sweatshirt to make it look like someone else, and then he even had like the full ski mask cover, like the whole Scully, so that it just shows his mouth.
Well, yeah, but you could see kind of whoever it was had a bigger beard. Yeah. So that's why I was like, it's totally Seth Rollins. But I'm like, it would have been
but
nice,
it makes sense. So
if it was Theory.
I was upset too. I was mad, but I had some time to think about it, and I'm like, you know what, that makes sense, because Paul Heyman and them quickly were putting Seth Rollins down after he got injured and saying they never needed him, and they quickly replaced him with Braun, and they started moving on without him. And so Seth Rollins has always prided himself in being the visionary and the architect. And what better way to say, like, oh yeah, I gave you this false confidence by giving you Austin, and I'm here just making sure you had these wonderful plans, and I just tore them all down. And that's going to be the feud going into Mania, which I would not be mad at. I would love that. I don't want them to give away that Austin Theory has been working with Seth this whole time just yet. I want the turn to happen at the actual match at Mania, if it's at Mania. Like, I want Austin Theory to come out to be ringside and to have an opportunity, kind of like what Paul Heyman did to Roman Reigns, but except without the exaggerative low blow with like the whole grinding around crap. Like, I want to see like the Austin maybe just kind of like get up and like whatever, and then hit Braun Breaker with something, and that'll be the way to show that he was on Seth's side. Or they want to do it earlier, that's fine too, but I would prefer to see it pay off at the actual match and let this keep going.
I prefer it too. But yeah, so Breaker was out, and then you had Obafemi. This kind of
Oba had a run.
He had a little showcase. He did the first 5 eliminations for the Rumble, eliminated the first 5 competitors essentially. He had Solo Sikoa, then Rey Mysterio, then Rusev, Matt Cardona. So those were the first ones the first 5 that he eliminated, including Braun Breaker. And then Damian Priest came in and started to fend them off, and then you had people fill out. There was a lot of, like I said, there was no official NXT call-ups here, which was odd when I went through the whole thing. A lot of people from AAA, I will say.
And you know what? I was bummed out about the reception they got. And I think it's because of the area where they were.
Yeah, Mystery Iguana got like no excitement at all.
I love Mystery Iguana.
So flat.
And La Parca.
Yeah, well, La Parca. And I was like,
it's
not the real La Parca. The real La Parca, unfortunately, I mean, it's the moniker.
Well, he's the current incarnation of La Parca.
I know. It's like the real one passed away. The current.
You know what I missed? Sorry.
Yeah.
Little side pit stop here. I used to love the WCW La Parca, where he would get the mic and he would never talk, but it was like the voiceover, like the dubbed guy that would end up talking trash to the opponent. And he's like, "It's not me. Look, it's not even on. Like it's not on." Like I love that. I miss
Well,
La
and that's why
Parca.
I always have a hard time. Like I know it's obviously in Lucha Libre the moniker gets handed down, but I'm like, for me, I'm like, it's not the real La Parca. At least the one that I was accustomed to.
Right.
But yeah, they weren't getting any love. Like La Parca didn't get any love, and Mr. Iguana was really trying hard. Damian Priest did the whole thing where he choke slammed Mr. Iguana and the puppet, and nobody was really into it. And it was like, it was
I
just
was,
flat.
and my son was. My son was
Well, I
cracking up.
was
He
I was
loved it.
having a good time with it, but it bummed me out because I'm like, man, the crowd's just not feeling this at
I think
all.
because they don't watch AAA over there. They
Yeah.
don't know about.
Well, and that's where I'm like, then if you're going to do it in Saudi Arabia, why showcase all all these AAA guys? Like if you're going to do that, so that made it the flat moments there. You had the fun moment where you had El Grande Americano, and then you had Chad Gable come back as the original,
Yes.
and they did the Spider-Man thing where they point at each other. Like that was cool. Chad Gable's looking just ripped as what ripped as
with the new beard.
He looks like absolute jacked. He looks great. He looks fantastic. But they were both out pretty quickly. And then at number 14, you had Powerhouse Hobbs, and then it flashes.
I love the way they did this. Yes. Well, go ahead. I love the way they did
I like the way they did it in the sense that they're like, here's Powerhouse Hobbs, and they transition into Royce Keys because he's going to be called Royce Keys. But I was like, Powerhouse Hobbs is just a much cooler name. If you have the ability to use Powerhouse, because you clearly are allowed to use it because you flashed it up
he
on
had
the screen.
it. Yeah.
So just keep him Powerhouse Hobbs. Like Royce Keys is just kind of a flat name. So I wish they had kept it, but it was cool because it's like, hey, for those of you who obviously you're not going to really be familiar with Royce Keys, but you probably know who Powerhouse Hobbs is. And they flashed it up, and he clearly doesn't need to go through this NXT workup and all that. Like they just debuted him in the Rumble and let him come out there and run with everybody because he's really talented, really good. I just wish he had kept Powerhouse Hobbs.
I do too. I'm not a fan of the name. Maybe it'll grow on me, but I love that it showed his old name, Powerhouse Hobbs, because like you said, it shows that he still owns that name. I think that's one thing AEW was very big about, is that they let the wrestlers keep their gimmick names, and it just kind of the wall broke down, and it was Royce Keys. So I like that he's there now. I'm curious how they're going to use him. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. And then after this, you got Austin Theory, Bronson Reed, Ilya Dragunov, La Parca, not the real one, Dragon Lee, Logan Paul, and then at number 21, LA Knight returning. But that wasn't a surprise because that had been leaked already ahead of time. Yeah. People had shown the signage that was out there. So no surprise. And then LA Knight actually eliminated both Bronson Reed and Theory pretty quickly after he got in.
Yeah.
You had Brock Lesnar come out at 22 with Paul Heyman. He ran to the back to escort Brock Lesnar out there, which is kind of strange that they just did that.
I don't mind that, but I was more annoyed that, and I think it was like WWE being like, oh crap, we didn't push the Rumble, and they had Brock Lesnar just casually FaceTime Pat McAfee to tell him.
Well, again, ruining the surprise.
I hate that. I would have loved this to be. I mean, we would have known Brock Lesnar eventually is going to pop up again. But I love the unexpected of like Brock Lesnar just showing up,
Well, I love just hearing the music hit out of nowhere.
And the guitar riff just hitting, and you're like, hell yeah.
Yeah. It's instead, you knew he was in because he did the announcement like the day before. So come on.
So dumb.
It's like this is where I was saying there was this one, the men's Rumble really was absent surprises. There was no shocking return. Then they had The Miz, Rey Fenix, Jey Uso, which comes out, does a whole dance around, rewinds it, goes, stands on the ropes. I'm like, I'm glad everyone's letting him stand on the ropes and do the yeet thing. Why doesn't somebody just go and knock him off the ropes?
Yeah.
And let that be that? That was ridiculous. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. Then you had Roman Reigns after that.
Which would have been a nice surprise too, had they not announced
it ahead of time. Jacob Fatu, Penta, Randy Orton at 29, and then Gunther at number 30. So no Chris Jericho. Stupid. No, like they kept teasing, is Chris Jericho going to come back to WWE? Maybe he's coming out at number 30. I was hoping he was going to come out at number 30, and then Gunther comes limping out. And like once that was it, I was like, wait, this is the field? Like, and then you had the thing that bothered me. A couple of things that bothered me. So I know we just ran through the list here. You had Brock Lesnar come in and do his thing, and they kept teasing the face off with him and Obafemi, and then someone would come down and then they break it up, and then they tease the face off, and then he eliminated Obafemi relatively easily. And I'm like, okay, like, why don't you give the shine? Lesnar doesn't need any more shine. Why don't you give the shine to Obafemi and let him take Lesnar out? Because as soon as he eliminates Obafemi, then you had Jey Uso's entrance music hit. During Jay's entrance, LA Knight and Cody Rhodes eliminated Brock Lesnar, and you basically didn't see it. And I was like, what the heck's going on here? Like, we're watching the entrance for Jey Uso, and Lesnar, who's supposed to be the monster juggernaut, gets thrown out by these two schmucks. And I'm like, what is going on? There was really a moment where I was like, okay, that bugged me, because like, what a waste. If you're just going to have those two eliminate him during Jey Uso's entrance, let Omofemi do it. Let him have it. Let him establish, hey, he's the future and he's the real monster now, and Lesnar's time has passed. And if you want to
that's how you could develop like a good feud for Obafemi, because you're building him up as this huge monster, not probably a face more than likely, but why not? Or take a page out of something that's been done before and have them just like going at it to where they both topple each other outside of the ring and fall out and eliminate one another. And then that's how you have that feud start. Like, have a pull apart brawl while Jey Uso's coming down. Like, that makes more sense to me, because now both men look good coming out because they're brawling and they're fighting. And then you have both of them like still like, hey, well, you didn't eliminate me clean. Well, you didn't eliminate me clean. Like, you know, it's like, then
they can build off of that. This was just, he got the best of Oba pretty easily, and then inexplicably got thrown out by LA Knight and Cody Rhodes. So it was just like, he was like, I'm done. I was here to eliminate that guy, and peace. I'm going to go hop on a plane and leave.
Made my check. I'm out. Going back to my farm.
Peace so I didn't like that. And so we had no Joe Hendry. And then you had Cody eliminated basically due to extraction from Drew McIntyre. So Cody was out. Jay eliminated by Roman. And so your final four was Gunther, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, and Logan Paul, of all people. And I had a couple of moments where I was like, you're not going to let Logan Paul win this one. Hopefully not. Final two were Gunther and Roman Reigns. Roman speared Gunther and threw him out. And it was just almost like, of all the people that needed the shine, Roman Reigns didn't need to win it a second time. Like he is essentially a part-timer now. He can come back and get a title match whenever he wants to. And for me, the Royal Rumble is always about anybody can enter the Rumble and have an opportunity to become a world champion. And this is the opportunity for somebody who's like at the back of the line. If you won the Rumble, you could get showcased. So to have Roman Reigns come out and just, all right, I presume he's going to go after the more, I initially presumed he was going to go after the more prestigious title, which is the WWE title. But now it's almost like, are you going to, I think would prefer to be on Netflix. So are you going to feud him not with Drew McIntyre, but with CM Punk? Like, are you going to do that and have it CM Punk versus Roman Reigns? Because they're continuing to do Drew McIntyre potentially versus Cody. And does Cody go into now Elimination Chamber and win? And then he's going to face McIntyre again, because they're clearly not done with that. But I'm not exactly sure where they're going here. But what are you thinking?
So I'm scrolling through the list of superstars they have, and we could have totally had. Sorry, I'm still hung up on Gunther at 30. I think that was a complete wasted spot.
It was totally wasted.
I mean, we could have had R-Truth. We could have had, we could have had Montez Ford. I mean, we could have had Kit Wilson. I mean, he didn't even come out, and he has a whole rebrand going on too. So
I was still mad that Joe Hendry has now somehow completely disappeared from TV.
Well, he's on NXT now.
Well, I know, but he's still he's still vanished.
Isn't he in the ladder match for the?
Well, no, remember he got signed by SmackDown, Joe Hendry.
No.
Yeah, because he was feuding with the Miz for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I know. No, he's on. I'm checking the NXT roster right now.
I thought he officially had come over to SmackDown. Remember he did the song on SmackDown, and
but no, he's on. They moved him to NXT.
Oh well,
he's in the NXT roster.
They need to get him back on the main roster, because I felt like that they had officially made a decision. They'd moved him over to SmackDown because he was popping up more and more, and the fact they had no NXT guys. Like, you didn't have a single NXT guy on for the men's Rumble, and it was all AAA instead of NXT, which was just weird. It was very, very strange. And maybe they wouldn't travel. Maybe it's because I know the other thing is
a lot of them don't want to travel.
A lot of them don't want to travel, and a lot of them, maybe for whatever reason, decided that they didn't want to be a part of the show.
We didn't even have Sheamus
part of it. Yeah, you had Rusev out there getting eliminated immediately, which is strange.
I mean, like, there's just so, and then the rumors of Chris Jericho. That would have been amazing to see Chris Jericho come out and like at number 30 even if it's just to go out. But the opportunity I feel could have gone to somebody much more deserving, because I get it. I like Roman Reigns, and I understand what they're doing. They're having him pick up where he left off because he finished filming Street Fighter, so now he's free again. And so for now, until he gets another movie. But I think for now, the next steps for you kind of have to figure out, one, who is Roman Reigns? Is Roman Reigns still on SmackDown? Is he now on Raw? Like, I think last time he left, he was on SmackDown.
Yeah, I think he was still technically SmackDown.
Yeah, and then I would see him possibly going after CM Punk because of the whole legacy clash.
Yeah,
that would be a good
I feel
match.
like that's a better. It doesn't make sense for him to go after Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, and then I feel like him eliminating Gunther was kind of like a layup, because Gunther was already hurt. I feel like he did more damage to Roman, because it's like, dude, this guy just had a match where his knee got tore up.
Yeah, he had a war with AJ Styles earlier,
and then you barely eliminated him. Like, no, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Like, the whole thing didn't sit well with me. And then it's also like, I think from the outside looking in, Ron Breaker's not going to. Ron Breaker I guess he didn't get a chance here. He's not going to win the Elimination Chamber either. So you've almost
he's gonna be after the mystery attacker. That's his new story.
And that's gonna be his storyline. But it's like that completely squashed his world title momentum.
So
they've got him going on this side quest now.
Yeah, the side quest, but it's gonna be good TV, because he's immediately him and Paul Heyman are gonna go straight to Adam Pearce and be like, "Who is it? Why did you bring that?" Like, they're gonna blame Adam Pearce, and he's gonna run roughshod through the locker room. So expect a lot of local talent to be posing as security, to be thrown around and ragdolled by Bron Breakker this week.
Well, but you almost have to assume, like, there's no investigation. Like, he's going to assume it's Seth Rollins, right? Like, he has to. He's going
to think it's Austin Theory. As paranoid as he is, he's going to think it's Austin Theory.
I don't know. I'm just saying, the whole thing left me with like this is probably one of the least enjoyable Rumbles for me in a while.
I was bummed out at the Rumble because, one, I think I was so distracted with the empty seats. I think they built that stadium way bigger than they thought they were going to need to, because that's a custom built stadium for the Rumble specifically. I felt they built it way bigger than what they needed to, because it did not get as full as they thought it was going to get. And, I mean, the crowd noise was still there. I don't know if it was fed in or if it was the actual crowd. Nobody was doing the countdown. Maybe they were doing it in their native tongue, which is fine, but you could barely tell, because that's part of the Rumble fun, is counting down. It's just, there's so much. And the women's Rumble, honestly, by far was the better Rumble. Better surprises,
it was by
better
far
matches.
It was more enjoyable. It had some surprises in it in terms of surprise entrance.
Yeah, Brie was a great surprise,
and it featured WWE talent.
Yeah,
throughout, including the NXT talent. Like, I felt it was just organized better. The winner made a little bit more sense to me. Like, everything about it, but it wasn't as appreciated because of where they were. So
it's a shame.
It's a total shame. And this is one of those, at some point, hey, maybe reward the talent by letting them be showcased somewhere where their efforts are going to be appreciated, and B, reward the fans who are going to appreciate those by showcasing that talent in those areas. So there's a little bit of advice there, WWE, versus chasing a massive paycheck, because obviously they got paid a huge amount of money to do this. But come on. At some point, people deserve to have their faith rewarded, is what I would say. But, and on that note, that was Royal Rumble 2026, everybody. Better luck next year. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments. Maybe you love the Royal Rumble and we're full of it. Please let us know if that's the case. Let us know what you like, didn't like, or if you agree with us or disagree with us. We always love to hear from you. But that's what we got for this week. Until next time, I've been Michael D'Angelo. He's been the Comandante Daryl Ortiz. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you soon.